We're doing a sprint today, people. What does that mean? Well, I'm trying to just practice so that I can start streaming and live coding, but yeah, just trying to get my reps in. I want to take you along with me to show you how I build these 3D experiences on Webflow. A lot of you have been asking what the process looks like, how do you go about doing it? There is a lot of custom code involved. It's just a little bit unavoidable, but hopefully you gain something from today. Let me show you what I'm thinking about building today. So let me pull up Figma here. What I'm kind of thinking is I will have, a full screen experience. And let's imagine that this is kind of my website. We're just doing like a quick little wireframe here. We're gonna use Relume to get up and running super fast. Yeah, like have a navbar. We can probably also have somewhat of a CTA situation over here. Right in the middle over here is going to be a full-on like 3D scene. So this is gonna be our 3D scene right here. I'm recording this in peak New York traffic, so you're gonna hear a whole lot of noise outside. Sorry about that. So we'll have our 3D scene here. I have a model that I found online of a little like Zen living room. So what I'm kind of thinking here is we'll put some UI on top of the furniture so that it will feel like a staged set where you can learn more about the furniture, and maybe this is a great use case for e-commerce. That's the vision. We'll see how far we get and whether or not we are successful in this. So we'll have like a chair and then a table, all right? And then, yeah, this whole 3D scene will kind of be moving. And what I'm thinking is when we click on the, when we click on one of these buttons right here, a new modal will pop up, or like a modal will pop up. Then there's just gonna be like content in here, I guess. So we'll do, I don't know, like an image maybe, and then a headline. It's a chair, I wanna get right into coding. I'm not gonna spend too much time on here. And then, maybe this whole area is a text. So that's kind of the idea. We'll add some interactions, some fade in and outs, all the nice stuff. This is kind of what we're building. All right, enough of this. Let's jump right into the code. Let's hope I don't mess this up. Okay, so how I start all my project is using my framework that I've pieced together from taking code from other people. Classic. This one is called Level Starter. I'll link to it below. It's a great starter to get up and running if you're going to be working in Webflow. Before we actually use this thing, let's just give a shout out to who I basically took code from. First is the FinSuite Dev Starter Kit. It's in GitHub. You can also clone that if you want to look under the hood. The main big difference with this is theirs is in TypeScript. I do have FinSuite's TypeScript utilities, which allows you to reset Webflow interactions, just some FinSuite custom code that makes working, with Webflow using custom code like a lot easier. And then also, basically all of this has been made possible by me taking the greatest course ever, Bruno's 3JS journey course. It's kind of a must. It's kind of a requirement if you want to get into 3JS, if you want to get into any sort of 3D experience on the web, you have to take this course. I'm not getting paid to say any of this. It's just a really good course. If you've already taken this course or are taking it, you should feel sort of at home with this particular framework. Also, I have this script right here, which I actually forgot who wrote this script. But if anyone there watching, let me know in the comments if you recognize this. I think it's probably from FinSuite, but it's also maybe from the guys over at Tambien, maybe? I don't recall. That's another great agency. You should check them out. Anyways, so we got the global script embed. This will allow you to, anytime you have a local host server running, to load up that script instead of, you'll see in a second, the script that's deployed onto a remote server, which today we're gonna use Netlify. Because Webflow doesn't allow for, you know, any file types other than like JPEG, MP4s, and maybe they allow MP3s. But anyways, there's some limitations there, right? So I use Amazon's AWS S3 to upload all of my models and things, because those are like GLB files and things like that. So you do need some course configurations for that. So I just have some, you know, something in here you can copy and paste into Amazon to make all of that work and not run into any issues. Cool. All right. So enough of that. So this is a template. I'm in my GitHub. I will link to this in the description below. But yeah, let's get started here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to use this template, create a new repo, and we can just call this 3JS, I don't know, stream 1. There you go. And I'll keep this public so you all can check this out once I'm done. I feel like that intro took too long, so we're gonna have to really kind of push the gas here. Okay, open with GitHub Desktop, and I'll just clone it right there. So let me just open that up, stream 01. Here's the code base. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to just install everything. And this will install, you can kind of see in the packages here. We got Barba, which is a really good library to make your Webflow feel more like a single page app. FinSuite's TypeScript utilities, GLSL plugin. This is for working with shaders in 3JS. And then of course we have some GSAP in here, little GUI. We'll play around that in a little bit. And then of course 3JS, and then a Vite plugin for GLSL. It's pretty straightforward. This is a pretty generic kind of Vite setup. The biggest difference here, if you go in the bin file, is the build.js here. And this is all taken from, with some modifications from FinSuite's Dev Starter Kit. Cool, so we installed everything, and I'm just going to run a build, just see if there's any errors. It looks like it generated our dist folder with a compiled script. This is the thing we're gonna deploy to our server. Okay, cool. So I always like to get the deployment out of the way. So I'm gonna hop on over to Netlify, go into add a new site, import, deploy with GitHub. And this is gonna link to GitHub. And let's look for that repo. Here it is. So we'll just call this Miles Stream 01. Branch to deploy, main. The base directory, we can leave that empty. This one, npm run build. Publish directory is dist. So I'm gonna go ahead and deploy that. And while that is doing its Netlify magic, I'm going to head to Relume, because we're gonna use some Relume to speed up our workflow, and clone the style guide here. Clone in Webflow. And in here, create the site. Miles Stream 01. So now that's going, and we are kind of multitasking here. Let me check on Netlify. Site deploy in progress still. Taking a sec. It's okay. Okay. Hide that, make this slightly bigger for you all so you can see. Let's open up the GitHub, grab this, yeah. Okay, and then back in Webflow, I'm gonna open up, use my FinSuite plugin here, and in custom code, in the footer, I'm just gonna drop the script in here, hit save, and then actually, let's get back to Netlify, that, okay. Let's see, Netlify, it's still deploying? All right, now it's complete. Cool. So we got the main.js file here. We can go into open production deploy. I think it's /main.js. Yep. So we just had to navigate to grab this main.js. So now that I've copied that, I could head back in here, and inside of load script right here, I'll just paste that remote URL there and hit save. Cool. All right, let's keep moving. Publish this once again. Cool, so that should be good to go. Back in Visual Studio Code, I'm gonna run the server, so npm run dev. So going back into our Webflow environment, delete this, sure, create a section here and call this main content. And then I'm gonna just create an app header, and then one more called app footer. So I got into the habit of structuring things in this way because I use a lot of Barba.js. And with Barba.js, you have to specify what's persistent on the page versus what's getting Ajaxed in or getting brought in. And so app header and app footer kind of stays the entire experience of the website. And then main content is the thing that's getting swapped out. If you'd like to know more about Barba, let me know. I'd be happy to kind of make a video about that. So in app footer, just so we can start seeing something, I'm going to create a custom element and give it a class of WebGL. And then in the settings, change this to canvas. So we got to make sure that it's a canvas. And then right away with our canvas here, I am going to just set this to fixed. Just some kind of like base styles to get this up and running. Fixed. And then what else do I want to do with this guy? The pointer event, I'll set it to none. And this is because like, okay, so right now I just have and set it to full. Okay, so now I can't select like app header and main content because WebGL is just on top of everything else. We could do negative Z index and all that good stuff, but to make our lives a little bit easier, I'm just gonna do pointer events none, sweet. All right, and just hit refresh here. This is our 3D scene. Again, if you've taken the Three.js Journey course, you might recognize this model and like some of this stuff. But basically, this is kind of just a great starter file. And I'll go through what's actually in this file in just a second. So we do need to add a few things here inside of the app footer. The first thing is I'm gonna add a div called utils. And we're gonna put some, like embeds in here, and we'll also want later on a background reference. I'll kind of go through why. Background ref, all right, and then in the HTML embed, util embed, I guess, I don't know. Okay, we'll want to make sure, because like right now, because I did pointer events none, I can't move the WebGL element. So I'm gonna want to set it back to auto. So I'm gonna write that script really quickly. All right, so const WebGL equals document query, yeah, selector dot WebGL. And then we want WebGL dot style dot pointer events equals auto, and that should do it. Also, this utils embed, I am going to set that to none in the display just so we don't have to look at it. The name of the game for me is always making sure that the designer experience is as good as possible, not just the, the live site. So, okay, so now it moves. Now we can kind of orbit around our fox that's being chopped in half by this UV plane that we're seeing here. So that's good to go. We're seeing a bunch of errors here, and this is related to the framework being a little bit opinionated with how I made it. It's expecting Barba divs in there, but that's okay. Let's do some code cleanups. So let's go back into Visual Studio Code and start looking at this. So the main entry point with this framework is main.js. The first thing is we actually don't need to do any of these. It's going to be a pretty simple experience. So I'm going to remove Barba. We certainly need these two because this is loading in the experience class, which contains all of the Three.js experience. We don't need to restart Webflow or anything like that. We can go ahead and get rid of that. And if I do that, then if we go back into the live site, pull up the console once again, the errors are gone because it's no longer looking for Barba. Actually, I'm gonna switch things up here and put the console right there. It's right up there, cool. Maybe that's a little bit better. I don't know, whatever. Hopefully we won't get any errors in here. All right, back to Visual Studio Code. Let's remove the terminal. We don't need that now. Okay, so we got this main experience folder, which holds everything related to Three.js. So we're getting kind of a little bit heavy into JavaScript here. If you guys have any questions, let me know. The first thing I'm gonna do is inside of world, this folder contains everything related to the world, from the models to the lighting and all that stuff. So looking at the main world class here, we have the fox, the floor, the plane. This is the thing that's kind of chopping the fox in half. And these classes are great because, and I'm not going to delete them actually, because they have some references to how textures should be written out in vanilla Three.js, and also how animations and things like that. So I don't have to like look it up, or, you know, it's just good reference for me. So that's kind of why I've left that in there. I am going to now remove or create a new class, copy fox.js, and inside of world, I am going to create, let's say, apartment.js, and just paste that fox class. First, we'll change the name of the export here to apartment. I'm gonna change that and say apartment. And we can look at what that looks like in a second. This resources right here, this is kind of how all of the resources are being handled. So I'm just gonna type in apartment model. Actually, I can show you that right now. So this sources.js is where we load in the remote URLs, however you wanna call that, for our models. I do already have my model. Instead of overriding the fox, I'm gonna create a new item in here in the sources.js, name this apartment model, and the type is GLTF model. This framework has texture, has audio, and GLTF model, and all of this stuff is set up inside of the utils, and we can check that out in just a second. Let me grab my URL for the apartment. We're gonna start moving really quickly here and hit save. With the resources under utils, you can kind of see the resources.js here, which has a GLTF, cube texture, audio. We're not gonna mess around with that too much. We don't need animations. We just wanna be able to set the model. So I'm gonna delete this animations method here. Because we don't need animations, I don't need this update method. So the fox was scaled down 0.02. This apartment is not, it doesn't need to be scaled down by that much. I think it's just like 0.8. Cool. And we'll take a look at that in a second. We'll leave shadows true. This should be good to go. So now inside of world, we need to bring it in. And before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the fox, the floor, and the plane. And then I am going to import the apartment. Instantiate it over here. So I gotta make sure that the resources are all set up and ready before we bring it in. Here, I am going to just get rid of this and put this dot apartment equals new apartment. We don't need the plane, and we don't need this. I'm gonna leave the update here just because we might need it later. All right. So that's all set. Now let's go into, let's see if it's showing up. Yep, there it is. So there's our apartment. It's been kind of auto loading. It's a little grim and dark and kind of terrifying actually. So this is the model though. So you can see I'm going to put some modals and things in there, but it's super dark. So the next thing I can do is set up the environment just so we're looking at something, I suppose. All right, jump back into our code. Where is it? There it is. The lighting and all that stuff is handled inside of the environment.js. So we'll do that. And let's take a look at what's in here by default. So we have the debugger, set sunlight, set environment map. We need an ambient light, and we need kind of like more of a rectangular light. I'll just do that. So set light. Before the environment map, I'm going to set up my set light method. With the set light, we want an ambient light. So we'll just say this light equals new, yep, an ambient light, and set it to 1 and add it to the scene. So that is perfect. And then, like I mentioned, we are also going to need a rectangular light. So I'm just doing this as because we're doing a sprint, but normally I would bake my lights into the model because that's way more performant. I try to avoid setting up lights as much as possible. I also have Copilot set up, so it's hopefully just going to do my job for me. All right, so we got new 3 rect area light. We need to get rid of this color, use that color. The next thing is we will want to position it. I'll just center it and then add it to the scene. Add this rect light. Perfect. Okay. And then next, we need to set up our debuggers. So the first one I'm going to do. Copilot is just so good. All right. If this dot debug active. Okay. So if the debugger is active, then we'll need a folder. And in the folder, we'll want to add, we could start with the light intensity, and then we'll want a min, perfect, and a max, no, dot max. See, Copilot sometimes just doesn't get it. Oh wait, no, it does get it. It gave me min, max, and then the step. Never mind, sorry Copilot. And then the name, I guess. Add this light ambient intensity. I think this is the name. Anyways, let's keep moving. So that's the ambient light. The next thing is we will want another folder for this debug add, for my rectangular light. And here we'll do the rec light intensity, and then min max, min 0, come on, max 10 step. Oh my god, it's not working. All right, step 0, and then the name rec light intensity. So that should get us there. But with this rectangular light, I'm gonna need to kind of move it around. So we'll create the coordinates. So this folder, and then we'll wanna add this dot rec light, position X. And then min, max. Why does it not ever do it? Come on. Oh. There you go. Min, max, step. Hit save. Perfect. And then hopefully Copilot can just take me to the promised land here. Position Y, min, max, step. Next one. Yep. This is what like AI is really meant for. I think that's it. Okay. We did forget all of the names, so I'm gonna hit that up. There we go. So the name, rect Y, and then the Z. Okay. All right. So that is all set up. The actual environment map itself, I will just change the name to environment map intensity. Hit save. And now let's go into our page. We have to add #debug in the URL. And then once we refresh, we can kind of see the debugger over here. So this is the sunlight's intensity. Nice. It's doing something. Here's the X, Y, and the Z. I think that's like the rectangular light over there. And then the intensity. Why do I have 2 sunlight intensities? Okay. Sunlight intensity, ambient light. Am I setting it twice? Oh, I'm setting it twice. That's why. This should be set light. Set light. We have an issue. Where is our issue? So in ambient light, where is it? This is the sunlight. This is the ambient light here. Okay, so, oh, yeah. So it can't be this. It has to be intensity. Whoa. All right, so now we should be good to go. Cool. All right, so we have our environment. We have the ambient light. We have the rec light, which is nice and red. And then we have the X, Y, and Z, and then we have the environment map intensity. Okay, so the approach here is you would set what you want in here. That's how you can set up your scene. Lucky for everyone, I do have values already in place. So I can just kind of bring that up here. Starting with our sunlight, position it in this way. And normal bias, all that stuff stays the same. And then the lights themselves, we want 1.3. Position of it is that. And then the environment map is set to all the way to 1, it looks like. Sweet. All right, let me save that. And yeah, I think that does look good. Good job. Cool. So we'll leave it at this. It's a little vibey. I'm going to remove the debug for now. So we got our model. It's looking cool. Let's take some pictures really quickly for our assets. So I'm going to move this like that. And then let's go and kind of move the camera here like that. I don't know. And I'm just gonna take some screenshots. So that's one. Maybe the chair, I'll take a picture of it as well. Nice looking chair. All right, and then that's our table. All right, I think that's good. The next thing is let's stick in our code, but as you can see here right now, we can kind of see, it's kind of cool. We can see the whole model and just zoom all the way out, and at one point it clips and disappears. We need to set some limits on our controls, and it's pretty simple to do that, which we can do right now. We can open up our camera because all of the controls are camera related. So this is the set controls. Now you might see in the framework that I do have controls.js over here. This is more related to custom controls that has more to do with listening to mouse events and things like that, which is what I used for my two previous projects, the Anomaly and Prospect Park. Now, the construction outside is in the full speed ahead, so it's hopefully not super loud. Let's go into camera and set our controls. Inside of controls, the first thing we can do is this dot controls dot min polar angle. And instead of dealing with pi, which I'm terrible with math, I'm gonna use 3.mathutils and convert degrees to radius. That's a little bit easier. So I'll set that to 10, and then I'll do this dot controls dot max polar angle and do the same utility. And with this one, I'll set it to, yeah, 80 is fine. And this is something, you know, obviously I went in and kind of tried to figure out what these values should be. So it's kind of a sort of a guessing game. And then we need to do the azimuth and also target it that way. With the azimuth, we don't want to fully rotate all the way around. So I'll do 35, and then on the max, positive 35. And then finally, the zoom is under min distance and max distance. So for this, 10 seemed to give me a good result. 20, I think 22 is an even better result. So if I hit save on this and then open back up our experience, so now you can kind of see that like I'm stuck. I can't move anymore, right? So the controls are working, and now, you know, the experience is a little bit better there. So you don't get weird crops or anything like that. Let's go back into the code. Let's just make sure that our apartment is also in good condition as far as the code. So the apartment, oh yeah, so I do have this debug folder here. I can get rid of that. I don't need that. We have our camera controls. We have our apartment set up. The world is nice. The next thing that we'll want to do is work on the interface. But before we do that, we need an actual interface. So finally, we get right into Webflow. Okay, so what's going on in Webflow? It's completely empty in here. All right, we're gonna sprint through this with the power of Relume. So I got the Relume here. I'm gonna turn on class sync. The first thing, we wanna like make our designer experience good. That's like the name of the game, guys. So in background ref, I am going to set this to fixed, full, and this one I'll put to -1. Add a background image. And what image do I add? Well, I am going to add the screenshots that I had. So I'm gonna upload the rest of the screenshots I took during our photo shoot. All right, cool. So, oh, I think I just uploaded the table. So I want this one. Perfect. Center, cover, not fix. Okay, cool. Yeah, so sweet. This is way better than working with a white background, right? That's why we do this. All right, so in the background ref, the thing is, we don't want to see this when we publish the site. So I'm gonna go back into here and basically I can just like copy this probably. BG ref, here, background ref, and then instead of pointer events none, this is going to be display none. Oh, I want this to be BG ref, save, publish, theoretically see the exact same thing we've been seeing. All right, cool, so that's working. We have an error here, style.display none. It doesn't know what that means. Huh, okay. I need to do that. So I just need to flip them around because it's not ready yet in the DOM. So now, yeah, now we're good to go. Moving right along, back in action here, I'm gonna remove the terminal, hopefully, because we won't really be messing around with custom code now. The first thing I'm gonna do is inside of app header, I'm going to, let me enlarge here, open up the Relume library and look for nav bars. We're gonna use this one. This one is nice. It's kind of a cool full screen vibe. Inside of app header, paste it in there, and there it is. Let's publish, make sure that it looks good and that it is working. So there's the Relume nav. All the interactions are kind of there. This is what I love about Relume. It just kind of works, right? Now, there's a lot you can say about how opinionated it is and how much you actually have to like redo a lot of things, but it's just nice to see it just work right out of the box. Okay, so with this, we can also add in the other component, and that one I'm gonna put in main content. And where's Relume? Relume, and that one is a CTA. Let's see, which one is it? We can do CTA, I think it's like 14, yeah, there it is. Cool, so inside of main content, drop that in there, sync the classes, cool. So let's style the Navbar 22 component here. So fixed to the top and put like 2VH to just move it down a little bit. The next thing is the bottom is 0. Make sure there's no like random floats. I'm gonna remove the background color and set the opacity to 0. So that is good. And then let's see, there is a border bottom here. So I'm gonna remove all of the borders. And that should be good to go. Now, the container itself is where the background color is going to live from now on. And with this, set that to white and then add a little opacity. We're gonna go with like a little glassy vibes here. Let's set that to 0.75 and then add a radius of 0.7 rem. And what else do we need with this one? Oh, so we want it a little glassy. So that's a filter, no, not a filter, backdrop filter, blur. 5 pixels is good, I think. Let's convert that to rem. We need padding. So over here, I'll just add like 2 rems. Make the position relative. And then next is menu itself, the navbar menu. Right now, if we open that up, it's kind of all the way up top. Let's move it down 100, like 20%. The height right now is 100 VH. We'll go 80 and change that over to SVH. The next thing is, then we need a radius on the menu itself. So I'll do 0.75 rem to match the radius over there. This menu left is way too far down, so I'm gonna bring it up to 2 rem. Same with this right one. Bring it up to 2 rem. And then this one is, instead of it being so massive, change this to 3, maybe just to 2. So that is already kind of looking good, but there is an issue here because it's gonna overlap like that, and we don't want that. With this component, the bottom is set to absolute. I'm just gonna reset all of this, but what we'll want is this bottom one, cut it out and put it inside of menu left, paste it in there, just to reduce the possibility of more kind of overlapping happening. What we could actually do here is we can use just like more height units, so we can see it kind of scales nicely as we go up and down. In the contact form, maybe we can reduce some of this, these labels here, and then also the minimum heights on these can go probably to 1.75 rem. Same with this one, and then yeah, maybe like 0.25. So we're just trying to trim off some vertical height and spacing here. Button is a global button, so we got to be careful when we do stuff like that. But this is kind of a fake project, so it's all good. Let's even reduce button size as well. Form checkbox. Yeah, we're just really reducing things down here. Form input itself, 0.875, I think will be fine. This one, I think we can go even lower to 6. These are just so tall. Why is that? Oh, it's because of this. So I'm gonna set that to 1. Yeah, so now we've really brought it up here. Then also, actually, this has a height of 100 VH. I'm gonna remove that to lock it in like that. Now it's kind of looking nice here. I think this is good. So the next thing is, because this is Relume, it should like just look nice. Yeah, it's pretty good mobile. We're not gonna actually do mobile because it's already been an hour, I feel like. So let's hide this. This is looking good. Next thing is the CTA. With the CTA, what we are going to do here is, well, first let me hide the menu so we can focus on the CTA. Now we do the CTA. We don't want it all the way up here. We want it in the bottom. So I'm gonna do position absolute, just set it to the bottom here. And then we will do, just because it's right on the bottom, we'll do 4 VH over here to bring it back up. And then this padding section is massive, so I'm gonna change it to small. So padding section small, and then we'll also want to make sure that this is above everything. So inside of section CTA 14, let's make sure that this is set to 2, perfect. And also let's do our frosty glass look on this guy. So set that to 100 and then just kind of frosty it up. I think we did like 75. The radius as well, 0.75 rem, and then we'll want the backdrop filter, change it to rems. It looks good here, but as we scale out, because the max width is basically 80 rem, it's feeling a little too big. So in here, section CTA 14, gonna reset these two, add a max width on it. We'll do 60 rem and auto, all right. And then down here, I think it was 4 VH. Cool. Now here, I will do position fixed. Same setup as down here. And I'm gonna remove these paddings right here. 60 rem, center it up, and there we go. So now let's publish. Let's make sure it works. All right, hit refresh. Yeah, that's Looking a lot better. Last bit is a little bit complicated, but we can do this. We want to add inside of app footer another div, or actually, yeah, we'll add it in here and we'll call this one interface. And before we do that, we're gonna create a new collection, and this is going to be called labels. And in the fields, the first thing is we're gonna have label ID. The next is going to be 3 numbers. And so this is going to be label X, which we want to be a decimal and 0.00 and allow for negative. So this is going to be how we'll position our labels. We can just duplicate this for the Y and the Z. Trying to move super fast. Great. And then XYZ, let's just add an image and create the collection. Save. I'm not going to generate new ones because I want to specify my things. So first is a table. The table is at the center, so I could just do 0, 0, 0, but actually I'm going to lift it up. So we'll do 2, not 20, 2. And then the image, there's a nice table image. Drop an image right there, not optimized at all, so that's not great, but whatever. And then I can go in here and duplicate this. You can call this one share, share. And this one, so that it's not right on top of the table right away, we'll go like a 2 also, I suppose. Maybe, yeah, let's just leave it like that for now. Remove that image, find my chair image right here and create. So now we have that. We can go into interface and drop in a collection list. In the collection list, we can collect, or not collect, connect labels in here. The first thing we're gonna do is rename all of these classes here. Do CMS wrapper. I just like to name things so it's not just kind of left hanging. Item. All right, and then CMS empty, right? And then that's fine. And the empty, let's just quickly style this. Doesn't matter too much, but I like to make sure it looks nice. So we got the CMS empty in there. All right, in the CMS item, we are going to add another Relume item in here. And let's take a look. We want a modal. So whatever's like the simplest modal. Let's do this one. Cool. All right, inside of item, paste the modal. And once it's pasted the modal, we'll see a whole bunch of stuff in here. We're gonna create our own button. So this button, we can delete that. And then this div block, we can name this modal target. We have the actual content itself. I could just remove this, clean up that class. And then in the component, let's just take a look at this, set it to flex. We can quickly style this guy to be max width large. We don't want it to be centered. Oh, there's a text align center somewhere right there. So I'm gonna move it out of there just because I'd rather have it like that. And then grab the text from the name just so we can see it. Inside of modal content, let's drop in our image, link that to the table image. Maybe in here, product image, we add some border radius on it just to kind of make it look nice. Add maybe a paragraph. I'm not gonna fully style this one. Let's just bake in the bottom margin with this image. Ideally, you would do a kind of a spacer if you're doing client first. So this one, I guess I could do like spacer medium, and then drop in a button. And this button will take you to the current label and name, or we'll just do like learn more. Do that part because then it would really take forever, but I think we're good here, right? So we're getting some weird overlaps right here. We can address that right now by going into our navbar component here, setting a z index of 3. Yeah, so that's basically that. What is this? Modal content. It's got a massive height. We don't need it to be so tall. And up top, we'll just do like 4. bring it up. Cool. And that's it. I think that's all set for our modal. So in modal target, I will set this to display none. So that will kind of just hide it. So modal target is the thing that's going to get animated in and out. And then modal component is the thing that's going to kind of slide and stuff like that. So why do I do this? Well, typically I would grab, like this div, and I would create a folder called utils. And inside of utils, I would create a page in here called components. Right? And then inside of here, I would drop in, I'd grab something like this. Delete that. And I would kind of just delete that. And then in here, just grab the interface. And then the main difference in this component page is I would remove it so that I can like easily style things right here and not worry too much about hiding and showing and all of that. So also in the utils is where I would move the style guide. So I'd probably move it like that. There we go. And then that's how I would really set it up. Okay, so let's publish. Now the things that we need to do is we need to add some data attributes so we can get back into the code and finish this thing out. Okay, so what do we do? First, let me move interface all the way up top here. And inside of modal target are data attributes in here. So I just need to add a, let's see, data label and then label ID. So now it knows where it is. And then let's add a custom element for the button. And this will be just called label. And I'm gonna move this up top here. And in the settings, change this to button. And then in the attributes for the button settings, here we'll need data label again to assign it to the label ID. And then we're gonna add label X, label -X, and then we'll do label -Y. So I don't know why the Webflow UI doesn't show it. And I thought like it was broken, but it works fine. Label -Z. And then set that to the Z. Now the label text itself, we can set that to the name of it, just so we see chair and table and stuff like that. Then we can begin styling the label. So in the label first, there's like, let's zero these things out. And then let me hide it. So it's all the way up there right now. So I got some values here, 0.2 rem. We'll do 1.5 rem. On the horizontal, and for the layout we could just do display block. We can position this absolutely, set the size of the button to 1 is fine. The line height, just set it to 1. The background color will go black with this one, and we'll do our frosty, so 75, and we'll do a pill. So I don't know, like 100 rem gets us a pill, I think. And then the cursor, we want that to be pointer. Backdrop filter to get our frosty. So 5 divided by 6 to get it to a rem. And what else do we need? I think that's it. And then the events, just making sure that's auto. Obviously, we need the color to not be black. We'll just use link alternate. It seems so big, but I think it's okay. I'll reduce it. So we can go to 0.75 rem, maybe a little bit more. We do need to make sure that the Z index is correct on the label, because right now it's under everything. So I'll do 3 on the Z index and hit publish. They're chopping down a tree outside, I think. All right, cool. So let me refresh again. There it is. So the last bit, and I promise we are almost finished. This is kind of a long journey for us. We are gonna go into the experience and create an interface class, right? So we'll do interface.js. Okay, so we could quickly write the interface.js here. We'll wanna import GSAP, because we are going to be animating a bunch of stuff. And then we will import add-ons from 3JS called CSS 2D renderer. Whoops. Well, we'll want 2D object as well, but 2D renderer and CSS 2D object. This is what's going to be it's what's going to allow us to render HTML elements on top of the 3D scene in 3D. you'll see what I mean in a second. Last bit is the experience, import experience from experience, but it's actually just there. Then let's create the class. This is called interface. Oh, why did I do that? There we go. We need the constructor. There we go. Inside of this, we'll need to bring in the experience. New experience, we'll need the scene, the resources. Okay, this is completely not even right. Sometimes the AI is just super wrong. So we'll need the experience, we need the scene, we need the debug equals this dot experience dot debug. And then we need the sizes because we need to grab the inner width or like the window size. This dot experience dot sizes, and then we need the canvas, and then we need the camera. Experience dot camera dot instance. So this is all just pulling from the experience class. We are going to have a couple of things here because we have a debug. We need to set that up. If this dot debug dot active, we'll want to create that folder, which we did before. This debug folder equals debug GUI add folder interface. Cool. And just open. Great. Then I'll need to target label target. And that's document, query selector label target, or not label target. I think I just called it label. Two methods, this dot set labels. This will generate the labels, and then this dot label renderer. So we do need to render it into our scene, label renderer. Okay, cool. All right, so that is kind of how this whole setup will work. Now, we need to set our labels. All right, so they're literally chopping every tree down in Brooklyn. Someone call someone, because that's not nice. Anyways, all right, set labels. We have a few labels, so we're going to need a for loop, or like a for each, I suppose. So we'll do this dot labels, or well, this dot label target, right? This dot label target for each, just like item, I guess. Jeez, these autocorrects are out of control. All right, so for each item, first we are going to not listen to whatever this AI is saying. We're gonna need to like get the DOM elements and the values, I guess, of and the values from the data attributes, right? And then we need to create the CSS 2D elements, right? And also add them to the scene. This is literally how I write JavaScript. I just like write myself notes and then figure it out from here. And then we need to add a debug so we can move the little labels around. That's it. Oh, and then finally, like call the open and close functionality, right? So that's gonna help us like with the set labels. So with this open and close functionality, that's going to be its own little method in there. Yeah, that's kind of the move here. So the first thing is now I basically will just start filling this in. So we have the for each already. So we need the label and the XYZ coordinates. So const label equals, item query selector. This is not right at all. Sometimes you get excited because you're like, oh my God, they figured it out, but it's not. Item dot, not even query selector, item dot get attribute. Item dot get attribute data label. and then I don't know what this is. And then we want const label x equals item.get attribute data label x. Nope, just label x. Come on, man. Get this right. Yup. Get this right. Yep. Cool. All right. So that's how we get things, I guess. Okay. Next is the label object. Equals new CSS item. So again, we're like kind of creating this for the chair, for the table. It's just doing it programmatically here. Then we want to set the position. Label position, set label X, Y, and Z. There we go. And then add it to the scene. This.scene, add the label object. Very nice. Then the debug, which is always the most verbose thing ever. This.debug.active. And then const label folder equals this debug folder, add folder label. Yep. And then label folder open, just because we like it open. All right, cool. So label folder dot. I think I like, yeah. We'll do what Prettier likes, which is go to the next line. Add, let's see, we want position X, Y, Z here. Position X, min 10, max 10, and then give me the Y. Imagine back in the day, meaning just a few months ago, we had to type all of this because we didn't have AI. And last is the Z. Right, just making sure it's not starting to go crazy on us. Okay, so this needs to close at some point, which is right there. Call the open and close functionality, which we're gonna have to write this, but it will be this dot modal open close. We don't need to pass anything. That is not inside the for each. I think this is the for each. Yep. So we need to actually get out of here, and it's just at the end, right? So set labels, cool. All right, so before we write the open and close, let's add the label render. Oh, look at that. Oh no. Well, first of all, label renderer. Okay, this label renderer, new CSS 2D renderer, that's correct. Sizes width, sizes height, oh my god. Position, is that right? Do I want it to be absolute? No, I want it to be fixed because everything else is fixed. I don't need this. Pointer events, none, we do want that. This label renderer, this canvas parent element append child, no. We just want to append it to the body. So document.body, append child, this label render. So this is going to put the label renderer at the very end of the DOM, I think. Yeah. Okay. And because we have label renderer, we need our resize. So this will listen to the resize of the browser window. So this label renderer, set size. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work. Yeah, that should be good. And then we need an update because it's a renderer, so we need to render it every frame. We don't want to just call it. We need to check first if this dot. We need to check that it actually like exists. And then scene, and then this camera. With this framework, you can't just call on this camera. You have to call the instance. So gotta make sure we have camera instance. Okay, perfect, sweet. All right, so that's all set up. This should right now render out the labels in the 3D space. Let's create an empty method for modal open close just so we can see what's going on. Make sure there's no like weird syntax errors. All right, we're still good. Before we can actually see what's going on, we need to instantiate this interface. So I'm gonna go in here, import interface from interface.js. Cool. I can just put it right here. This interface equals new interface. We do have a resize. So in resize here, this dot interface resize, and then the update, this dot interface update. Cool. So that and this is specifically related to this guy, right? So easy peasy. Let's go over into the browser and see what's going on. It broke. Let's see what's going. Let's see what we did wrong here. Label target for each is not a function. Oh, wait a minute. We're moving way too fast here. Let's see. Oh, and not just selector. We gotta grab all of them. And we're back in action. And there you go. So we got our table on top of a candle, but that's okay. And we got our chair on top of a table. That's also okay somehow. Let's quickly position that because that might drive us crazy. So let's go to debug, drop open. So we got position XYZ right here. Let's move the table to just maybe the center or higher, maybe too high, like 3. And then move it a little bit. The table's actually not all the way to the center. So yeah, maybe like a 0.5. So 3 and a 0.5. And the approach here is to then plug these numbers into the Webflow. So go back into our Webflow and go to table for the, what is that? The X is 0.5. And the Y is 3, and the Z is 0. So let's save that, and then let's look at what the chair needs to be. The chair, maybe we'll put the chair over there. So if that's the case, I will do like -4 and move it up like that, maybe. There we go. So there is our chair. So we got -4 and a 3 on the Y. So this is the chair, -4 and a 3. Hit save, and we will need to publish this. All right, it is now published. Let's refresh. Cool, so there it is. There's our chair, there's our table. Beautiful. Okay, the next thing is there's our chair. It's on top of a chair. Our table is still on top of a candle, but it's on top of a table with a candle on it. That makes sense. All right, the last remaining bits of this is implementing the functionality for our modal. Let's go ahead and do that. So back to Visual Studio Code we go in the interface. All right, so this is where like things get a little bit dicey potentially, so we'll see how this shakes up for us. So for the modal open and close, first thing is I'll get a parent element. So const parent element equals document. It's not the greatest, like most best practice, but this will at least allow us to just query or like just get one main element. And because our experience is very small, we don't have to worry about it being super scalable. Anyways, parent element, right, dot, we'll add an event listener, and then on the click, let's just close this up. On the click event, we will want to listen for if event dot target dot matches label. It's a class of label. And then in here, if event target matches label, then first we gotta grab the label. So const label equals event dot target dot get attribute data label. And then we need the modal target. Const modal target equals document query selector, data. No, we need it's a div dot modal target and data label is a label, right? Yes. Okay, then we also, let's take a look at our experience for a second. Whoops. Arc. So basically the Relume modal, when you click it, there is a, let's look at it really quickly. Right here in the interface. So this is the modal target that we need to target. But then you can see here there's this background overlay, which is dims the entire scene essentially. So we need to grab that. Then also we need to like slide things in using GSAP, right? So we need to make sure we have access to all of those things. Okay. So we got the modal target. The next thing is we need to get that. We're still in the if statement. So const modal background overlay. And then this one is inside of modal target. So modal target dot query selector. Not modal background overlay, it's called modal 2 background overlay. So modal 2 background overlay. And then finally, we also need const modal content equals modal target modal 2 content. Let's see if it got that one right. This one is just called modal content actually. Or wait, this is our modal content. Because it's the wrapper because it has the position absolute and all of that good stuff in it. I don't know if that's right actually. So we'll do the wrapper. Okay, so this, we'll do that. Alrighty, and then we need to set some states, like default states. So gsap.set the modal background overlay. We'll set that to opacity is 0. And then we'll also set the modal content to opacity 0, no, x 100%. So all the way to the right or off screen on the right. And then we're still in the if statement. Then we create a gsap timeline. Timeline, and in the timeline we need to say on start. We needed to do something on the start of its life. Modal target, yeah, first because modal target is going to be display none, we need to flip it to display block before starting our timeline. And then we begin the timeline. So the first thing is modal background overlay, goes to 1, 0.5 is fine, maybe we add an ease, power to out. Why is it uppercasing it? I'm pretty sure it's that. It's also in quotes. There you go. So that's the modal background overlay, and then the content itself. Modal content, the x goes to 0, power to out. We don't need that part. So there we go. And then we can close it. And then what else do we need here? I think that's it. So that should, in theory, open things. Should we test it? We should test it. Let's see. Okay, so here it is. Let's get rid of the debug as well because that is super annoying over there. So I click on chair, it dims, chair comes up, looks nice. But then how do we close it? We can't close it. We need to write the close section of our code. So this is all related to the open. We need a different event listener here. And we say if event.target.matches, we're looking for modal to close button. And we're also looking for modal to background overlay, I think. What else are we looking for? I think that's all. There we go. Modal 2 and then the background overlay. Then we want to over here, let's see, if the event modal 2, oops, no, not there, in here, if that happens, then we can get moving with things. So const modal target equals event target closest, is that right? Closest modal target. Whoa, I don't trust it. Dot closest modal target. Okay, and then const the modal content equals modal target dot and then the query selector. We want the modal content wrapper, correct, and then modal background overlay. Then we're off to GSAP land, I think. Yeah. We don't need any sets or anything. This is the close. So gsap.timeline. We do need a thing in here that, yeah, right there. It had it. On complete, we want to set this modal target to display none. But then we want to animate modal content, opacity back to 0, move it over to the right, power to out, cool, and modal background overlay, so it slides over and then this disappears. I don't know why it keeps wanting to do stuff after. We don't want to do that, and just hit save, and then that should be it, I think. So here we are. If I click on it, fade, slide, and then if I click on the background, whoop, that broke. So let's go and check that out where we messed up. So right here, modal target closest, we're missing a period because, well, we're missing a period because this is a class. Let's hit save and try again. Let me remove this, go back into our console and refresh. So let's try it with the table. We got the table, click out, nice, there it is. Wow, that took a while. And let's try it with the table. There it goes, looks good. And then we can click out here, fades out perfectly. Click the close button, nothing happens. Damn it. All right, right here, close button. We got this image, it just needs a pointer events none. Pointer events none. Republish it, and for the love of God, I hope this is correct. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, open up the chair this time and close with the background overlay. It looks good. And close. Yeah, there you go, it works. Let's try the table. Now we got a table. That works. And finally, that works. We did it. Wow, that took way longer than expected, but I hope that kind of gives you some idea on what it takes to make these things. For sure, it will probably be much faster if we had a plan and we weren't kind of just sort of making things up as we go along. But yeah, that's basically the process. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and like and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.